to Anna's publisher, Kids Can Press, for helping to make this evening possible. We'll be hearing from Anna shortly. Before we do, just 2 quick housekeeping rules. The first thing is that there will be an opportunity for questions following a reading and conversation. We ask that you raise your hand if you have a question. I will then approach you with our wireless microphone. That is not to comment on your ability to project, but it's more so that to ensure that our viewers from home can hear. If you are one of those virtual viewers, please just write your questions in the chat and we will put them to Anna at the time. The second is that we will ask you all to remain seated briefly at the close of the event while we bring Anna over to the signing table by the cash desk. I'll have more details on signing procedure for you at the end of the evening. I'd now like to say a few words about our featured author as well as your host for the evening. Anna Lazowski wrote her first picture book for a class assignment in the 6th grade and has been creating stories ever since. Now an award-winning radio producer whose journalistic work has been published in various newspapers and magazines, Anna is also the author of T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes. She lives in Winnipeg with her husband and kids and dogs, plural, sorry. Your host for the evening, Jane Testar, is a Winnipeg-based comedian and actor and a member of more performance groups than her parents can count, including the musical improv company Outside Joke, sketch comedy fringe favorite Hot Thespian Action, and Foo Foo Chi Chi Choir. She has appeared on stage in Theatre Projects Manitoba's None of This Is Happening, in Noel Coward's Private Lives, and The Winter's Tale with Shakespeare in the Ruins. Jane has written sketch comedy for CBC Radio, was known as a modern etiquette expert with her radio column Misconduct, and is currently the host of the CBC Comedy Factory podcast. To kick off the evening, please join me in welcoming Jane Testar.
Microphone happening? Cool. I can project, but I don't need to. Okay, there we go. Hello, how is everyone this evening? Yay! Oh my gosh, we're gonna hear the book. Are you gonna read the whole book? Oh yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do a reading of the book, and then I'm gonna hold up the book and do the pictures. It's just gonna be like kindergarten again. It's gonna be nice. Let's go on a journey back to kindergarten, everyone. When's the last time someone read a book to you and it wasn't on audible.com? Ever. So we're gonna do that. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm so excited we're doing this. Okay,
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
without further ado, let's get into this.
Oh, we have some.
Oh, good. Yes.
Can't see the pictures from back there.
Floor seating available.
There you go. Okay, take it away.
Abigail had a dark cloud. One day it just appeared. She shut the door, but it followed her in. The rain made everything damp. Abigail had a ball of worries. It followed her to school. Kids asked to toss it around, but they didn't ask to play with her. Abigail had a swirl of fog. It wrapped around her at ballet. It got in the way of her grand jeté, and she never went back again. Abigail had a long shadow. It followed her to dinner. It gave the candles a lovely glow, but took away her appetite. Abigail had tangled thoughts, but couldn't lift the comb. Her dad sat quietly on the bed and gave her a polka dot bow. Abigail had a flutter of butterflies, but so did someone else. He sat beside her on the bench and didn't have to say a word. Abigail had a dark cloud. It felt a bit familiar. Her dad held her hand, and then she knew sometimes he had cloudy days too. One night, Abigail dreamed. Her dark cloud froze and shattered into tiny pieces. But when she woke up, it was waiting right where she'd left it. Abigail had a bright idea. She took it to the library. She searched the shelves for the perfect book and read about brilliant blue skies. Abigail had a dark cloud. It followed her to the beach. She trapped it in a tall sandcastle and went for pistachio ice cream. Abigail has a dark cloud. She no longer finds it strange. Some days it's bigger than others, but shrinks down after it rains. Abigail has a dark cloud. It follows her almost everywhere. Sometimes she steps outside it and feels the sunshine on her skin.
So that's, I would say, not the typical children's book that you'd think of. You know, you think of a children's book, you think of dogs and counting things and rainbows. And this is, you know, there's a lot going on there emotionally. Can you kind of speak to where that came from for you?
Yeah, so that's a personal kind of story. So a few years ago, my daughter took a medication prescribed by an allergist. And one of the side effects, you know, you read the giant list of side effects when you get a new medication, you're supposed to, you read them, and you kind of file it away in the back of your head. And we started to notice that she wasn't really herself. She was kind of pulling away. She was a little bit sad. She wasn't smiling as much. And, you know, things kind of got worse. And we eventually figured out it was from the medication. So we took her off the medication, and I think it took about a year for her to come back with a lot of help, with a lot, you know, it was definitely an undertaking, and it was a very difficult process. I think in a way this was me kind of using some of that to create something new and kind of documenting what I saw, because a lot of this is what we saw. So a lot of what, you know, how I wrote this book is using a lot of visuals and a lot of imagery, because when you're talking to kids about emotions or about, you know, big feelings and ideas,
Right.
They don't have the words for it. And often their parents don't have the words for it either. So I figured that if we can show kids what it can look like when you don't want to go to a party, when you can't even comb your hair, when you know, just don't feel like being around other people. And also they can recognize that in their families too, because we know mental health issues run in families. So they might not be having it themselves. They might be seeing some of their parents or siblings or whoever in this book too, if it's not specific to them.
Wow, yeah. And is that something that you kind of looked at the market of children's books and thought this is missing, or this is something I can add to the conversation?
Well, it's interesting because I think, like, my kids are teenagers, but at the, you know, even when I was reading kids' books to them, I think things have changed a lot since then. It's been like, I don't know, 10 years. And there's really this push, like, there's this push for diversity and inclusion and the importance of kids seeing themselves in the books they read, which is incredibly important. And in more than one book, they should see themselves in lots of books. But I think in addition to visual representations of kids, we also should see emotional representations and how people feel and how their minds work and all that. We need all of that in books. And, you know, there's a whole treehouse of books. So there's a really wide range. I think children's books have changed so much since I was a kid, since my kids were kids. Like, it's just this ever evolving thing that's kind of interesting to see.
And it's one thing that really struck me about it was that it wasn't just one feeling we were talking about. It was kind of shades of that, the darkness and the cloud. Sometimes it was something she could put away and then live her life, but it was always there. But it wasn't just this one version of that feeling. There was nuance to it.
Yeah, and I think the first draft of the book, there was like no hope. It was just like miserable.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know, the first draft you always work on, right? You never see the first draft of the book. So the first draft really went as far down as it possibly could go. And then it kind of climbed back up to it, because you have to give hope. You can't give kids a book where it's just like, it has to come back. And you know, it's I think the thing that a lot of people that's resonating for people when they read this book is that there is hope, but it's also realistic in that, you know, you can't just say, hey, it's all going to go away and be great.
Yeah.
So it's, some days are going to be better. Some days you're going to go eat ice cream on the beach. Other days you might not want to. And it's just that sort of that being realistic in what kids can expect.
Also, like the choice of pistachio ice cream.
Yeah.
Not really a kid flavor. That kid's very adult. I liked it.
It's a nice green color.
Yeah. Expand your palettes, kids. The rainbow flavor is not good, admit it. Do you like the rainbow? No, you don't. It's bad. It's everything and nothing. You don't want that. Anyways, I'll get off the screen. I actually had some questions that I wrote down. So you have been working in broadcasting and working at CBC for a long time. What was it? This one incident that was the impetus for you starting children's books? Because you have a previous book.
Yeah, no, I have another one. T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes. That was the first one I wrote.
Okay.
So no, the impetus for it, well, I'd always liked writing, but then you have kids and you kind of stop doing a lot of things except raising the kids. So when my kids were a little bit older, I was like, I need something creative to do where I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to buy a lot of equipment. And I was like, well, I have a laptop and I can do that from here. And I like writing. So I just thought, it was like January of 2019, I think I wrote my first book, kids book. And I thought, oh, just, it's winter, it's Winnipeg. I'm gonna spend some time just kind of figuring out how this works. And then because I sort of sometimes fixate on things, I was like, I'm gonna learn everything about how you make a children's book and how you get it published. And so I spent the winter figuring out how you write a children's book and how you get it published. And I sold that book in June of 2019. So it took me 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround.
Yes. And then nothing after that is quick.
Yeah.
And then it takes years for the book to come out.
Yeah. So can you explain that process to the
Yeah. So
people?
pretty much any picture book takes about 2 years to come out because the publishers buy it, then they find an illustrator. You don't pick the illustrator, you don't work with the illustrator. The illustrator is kept over there, you are kept over here, so that they can bring their creative vision to it. And it takes about 2, sometimes 3 years for the books to come out. Yeah.
That's a lot. It's like a movie. That's how long it takes for a movie to come out.
Yes. So if you're doing something, that's why you can't really write to trends because you can't really predict where things will be in 2 to 3 years.
You can't be like, Harry Styles went to the grocery store. Somebody wants 3 years later.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
He's still pretty cool, isn't he? Do you know?
Sure, I've heard of them.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Okay, but there are trends in children's books. What's happening right now? Is it feelings? Are we all settled on that? Do we like that?
Well, there's a lot of, I call them social emotional learning texts.
Ooh, okay.
So, kids understanding their feelings and what they're thinking about. There's also tons of nonfiction. Like nonfiction is hugely popular for kids. Writing nonfiction about nature, about animals, about weird, strange things, because kids love weird, strange things. So there's a lot of nonfiction. Yeah.
Right. So then I think my other question was the beautiful art that's in here by Penny Neville-Lee, whom you've never met.
Never met.
But you did stumble across her art. It wasn't totally randomly set up by the publisher, correct?
This one wasn't. Kids Can Press was great because after I wrote this and it was sitting with my editor, Kathleen Keenan, on her desk, and I was waiting to see if she was going to acquire it. So you're just kind of sitting at home waiting, scrolling through Twitter, killing time, not thinking about the book, not thinking about the book. At this point, the entire world is locked down. This is March of 2020. And I was scrolling through Twitter, and Penny, who lives in Manchester, I think she was on the bus. She might be watching. Hi, Penny. She was taking a bus home or to work, I can't remember, but she was having kind of a crummy day. So she drew these 3 images, and I saw them and I thought, that is Abigail. And I'm going to copy a link to this tweet, and I'm going to put it in my manuscript. And if they buy it, I'm going to say, hey, have you seen this lady's beautiful art? Because it was basically this. It was this little girl with a cloud, and then hugging a cloud. She had different clothes on, and then this beautiful image of the flowers in the rain. And so when they decided to buy the book, we start talking about illustrators. There were a few people they were looking at, and And was one of them. And then they decided that it was going to be her, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine this book now with anybody else's art in it, because the art in picture books is like, it's a character, and in this book even more so, like even the end papers. Like she started the end papers,
Those are pretty.
black and white, and then it ends.
That'd be some nice wallpaper if you're doing kind of a 70s theme. That'd be nice.
So yeah, I was really happy that.
It seems like fate.
Yes, it did seem like.
So the publisher was going to show you this person anyway.
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought that's what you said.
No, I suggested them, so they put on the list. They had a few people, but they were open to discussing options. So we went back and forth on a whole bunch of different ones, and she was the one that I suggested. And this is one of my favorite pictures. It's a stubble spread of a library. That's just like, it's unbelievable, the detail in this page. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's fate. You found each other.
Her first picture book. She's done other books. This is her first picture book, and I think now she'll have a lot of jobs.
Great.
Picture books.
Yeah. And do you know what medium she uses? Because it looks kind of hand-drawn and computer
Yeah, I
at the
think
same
it's a bit of
time?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a few, she did a few versions that had some paper elements too, but those didn't make the final cut. But she did a lot of experimenting and a lot of,
How many drafts were there?
I don't know, because you don't see them.
Oh, right, because you have nothing to do with that.
No.
That seems odd, that those two major artists never communicate with each other.
Not till after. Now we talk all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time they want to make sure that the artist brings their creative vision because you're giving them like this, it looks like a poem without the art, the text. It's very minimal text, it's very lyrical kind of text. So it looks like a poem. So they want to make sure that you write half a book basically, or in this case, she kind of wrote three quarters of it, but you want to make sure that they can bring themselves to the page and like this is Penny all over this book. So it's really, I think, for the most part, I think that tends to work out pretty well. And there can be surprises in it that you would never imagine. And it's so it's exciting when you get the first ones show up in your email and you're like, peeking at them.
Are there any, what do they call that? When there's little hidden things in there,
Like Easter eggs?
Easter eggs, yeah.
Well, there's one thing that I didn't even know if this would qualify as an Easter egg, but there's a little cat everywhere. There's one that I thought was kind of cool. Because there's this page. And then it's mirrored, it's mirrored later in the book when she goes to the beach. So you see this one, and then you see this one.
Okay.
And this one she's walking away, and this one she's walking away. So yeah, like I think Penny's got a whole bunch of stuff going on here that maybe I haven't even realized is in here yet, but
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting, the combination of those two art forms. Yeah. Awesome. What was it? Oh yeah. So when you're going to write a children's book, obviously versus any other kind of writing, is there an existing structure that people like or that is more successful that you are encouraged to follow, or are there do's and don'ts? What is the structure when you're going to write?
well, there probably are, but there's so like the thing is that everybody's looking for different things. So you kind of just have to write the way you want to write.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't mean anyone's gonna buy the books that you write, right? So you have to write for yourself and then hope for the best. And I have a lot of books that no one's bought and we'll never see. But I mean, I think one of like an extraordinarily famous writer that I know a little bit, she said, I think she writes 7 for every one that sells.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's for art. They say for actors, you book 1 in every 14 auditions.
So it's slightly better.
Yeah, it's better.
If you're extremely good already.
Yeah. That's if you're a working actor, not if you're just starting out. So yeah, better odds. I should switch professions. Here's my question, speaking of the actors trying to write children's books, why are all the late night people writing children's books? There's Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, all the Jimmys wrote one.
All the Jimmys.
Why? Are you gonna have a late night show now, just to switch that on?
There's just this is it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we're
pretty
doing.
much it.
I don't know, like so many celebrities write children's books.
Yeah, Madonna wrote one.
Yeah, I mean, they think it's easy.
Yeah. Is it?
No, but I mean, some of them also get help, like other celebrities who write books. And late night people are funny, they're writers.
Yeah.
So if anyone's gonna write them.
I did buy one of those books, gave it to a 3-year-old I know.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you say you write children's books, pretty much 90% of the time people will say, I've always wanted to write. I've always had an idea. And it's like, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you figured out it's just online of how you do it. There's directions. It's like writing a Hallmark movie. You can just download the structure. Pick
That would be good.
Cupcake Bakery. He chops wood for a living. I don't know how he does
Yes,
that.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is we need books for everybody. So
Yeah.
I think the more the merrier they're out there.
No, you don't want to gatekeep that. Just be like, it's impossible. You shouldn't do it. Leave it alone.
No, you can't buy your books. No, more books is better.
Yeah. Do you have an idea for the next one? Is there a next one?
There is a next one coming out in 2025.
Because it takes 3 years.
Because that one actually took longer. Because also their schedules get all full. So the publishers have schedules that are packed full of books, and then they have to find a nice little spot to put you where it doesn't compete with other things, and doesn't ruin the mood of the season. So I have a book coming out with Kids Can Press again in 2025 that is also a social emotional learning title. Cheery, about loss and grief. But also about moving through loss and grief and making new memories.
Okay,
So there is the hope. I wrote that one in the pit of the pandemic where I was just like, everyone is surrounded by loss.
Yeah, that was a time.
Yeah.
It was a time. There were sort of aspects of this story that kind of reminded me of that idea that with grief, you don't lose the grief, you just build more life around it. And there was kind of shades of that in here. Like, yeah, you might have to deal with these emotions for the rest of your life, but you can still find the joy, you can have the pistachio ice cream, you can do the nice things, but the thing's kind of just waiting there for you. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and that's what you want to leave people with that? Was that the point? Did I do it?
Well, I have other ones. The next one that I'm hoping will go after that is completely the opposite and cheery.
Oh, good. Okay.
Not
You
at all sad.
gotta hit all the things. The emotional wheel.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so the first book was super happy and silly, and this one is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's good.
Beautiful. Did I have more? I have more. Oh yeah, has it been banned in Brandon yet? Topical.
I was gonna ask that. Not that I'm aware of.
Oh,
No.
why are people banning books? That's not good.
No, that's
What's your favorite children's book? What's a book that really affected you?
my favorite book. The first book I bought when I had my kids was The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munch.
Oh, Munch. It's classic.
That is classic.
Yeah.
But now there's so many that it's impossible to keep up with.
Yeah.
But there is another local writer named I wouldn't mention her book. It's called Harold the Iceberg Melts Down, and you can get it up there. I saw it.
Okay.
And it's all about an iceberg lettuce who thinks he's an iceberg,
Oh.
and he's worried about climate change and melting. So it's about, so it is a silly, fun book that's about climate change and worry.
Yeah.
and-
Oh,
But told with
yeah.
cute little vegetables.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's really sweet.
Oh, he's
And
nice
funny.
bird. That's really cute. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? Is it a burning topic you wanted to get to that I'm not?
I don't think
And I
so.
didn't write down? How are we doing for time? We're doing great for time.
Fine for time.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Oh yeah, so you now know this artist
Mhm.
and you're buds now.
Yeah.
But they live in another country. There was a movie, I was talking to you about this. There was it reminded me this relationship that she has with the illustrator. There was a movie where two people met through letters, and it was, what was it, after the war? But then they only talked through letters, and then eventually she got enough money to go visit the guy, but he had died. Not a bummer. What movie was that? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Cool. I'm glad I brought it. Which one? Oh, yes, yeah, and Bancroft.
I love it.
We got it. That's the one.
And I said it would be more like The Holiday, which is slightly cheerier.
Yes.
Yeah, and has little cottages.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Pastoral.
Is that your favorite rom-com?
I don't know, but I like it a lot.
So what is the plan? Do you have a 10-year plan with these books?
No,
Are you gonna take over the world? Are you gonna be the next Robert Munch? That's what I want to know.
Robert Munch is still the current
Well,
Robert
yeah.
Munch, yeah,
He's retired though.
he is,
Yeah.
but I think he still sells an awful lot of books.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought one of those recently too.
See,
Yeah.
I think it takes a very long time to build. I mean, if a book comes out every 2 to 3 years, I should have started when I was 20.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's a very slow process.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, what can you do?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that there's tons and tons of books. Is it kind of an inundated industry? Is it a little oversaturated and you're just kind of
Maybe we should
throwing
ask
things at the
Sabrina.
wall? Right? Yeah.
Maybe some
Booksellers.
You know, we need more books, right, Sabrina?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always need good books. Yeah, I'm just fascinated by the business of it in a way. I don't know if anyone else is, maybe that's just me. Whatever, Jane. Yeah, I think that's a nice combo.
And we'll bring Sabrina back.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Hello, is this on? It's not on. Hello, it's still not on. Hello. Okay, there we go. If the audience has any questions right now for these two lovely ladies, I can come over, put the mic to your face, and you can ask away. Any questions?
Question. You're not on camera, it's anonymous.
We just hear your voice.
What other flavors besides pistachio were you considering?
That was the only one.
Wow, right out of the gate?
Mhm. Something with a pop of color.
Yes. But not rainbow, that's garbage.
That's too cheery.
Yeah, didn't. Go, Kai, do you have one?
Yeah.
Was it about ice cream?
I prefer spumoni.
Spumoni,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
You get spumoni at the end of your meal.
Mhm.
What's in that?
Dried fruit bits.
Oh.
Flavors.
Why do they have bummer ice cream flavors?
Are you kidding? Yeah.
Rum raisin, bummer. Ruined ice cream with a raisin. Who needs that?
Nobody.
Did anyone relate to the topic
Yes.
at all? Yeah.
Oh, hands up.
Do we-
Just microphone.
Expand on
Not
that.
getting back to that.
I've got a list of questions.
I have a list. Let me open my bag.
Yes.
I was gonna say, you brought up banning books, kind of half jokingly, but I was gonna say, good for you and thank you for writing children's books because they are seemingly at the forefront of books being banned right now. Who knew that they could be so challenging to people, but especially when it comes to slightly uncomfortable topics, I guess, that's people's preferred books to want to ban. And maybe we should all call for the banning of your book right now, because I'm sure sales would skyrocket, because that's what happens to banned books.
They'll buy it just to burn it.
Yes, yeah. But no, seriously, like, good for you for getting into children's books and
Thank you.
writing about subjects like this that don't often get written about. And I do want to say, yes, I do find this book totally relatable because I know that I've been through these feelings and I will always continue to go through these feelings. And one of the things that makes this book so relatable is that you know you're depressed when the things that should make you happy don't even make you happy. When you try your best, you go out into the world, you try to hang out with your friends, you are doing things that make you realize, make you think, I should be doing better right now than I am, but I still can't break through the dark cloud. And that's sometimes very difficult. So to raise this issue with kids, I think is a great idea. So yeah, great for doing that. We talked a bit about the ending, or you did, but I'm curious a bit more about the ending. Does the book have a happy ending?
I think so. Yeah, because she finds the ability to occasionally park the dark thing that follows her and step out into the sun. So you can see, I think in one draft of the last spread, the cloud was gone. It was like, oh no, we have to have it, right? So it has to still be there. So, I mean, that's the other fun thing is you get all the art back and then everybody kind of weighs in. So the whole editorial team and I get to look at it, Penny and we all kind of said notes back and forth. And I think it wasn't there, but it was like, it has to be there because it's everywhere, right? And if we're gonna tell kids, if it's not there, we're telling kids, oh, one day it'll just be gone. That'd be so awesome. And you can swing with your friend. But I think by having it stick around, but still she's able to enjoy things, I think that gives people like a more realistic sense of it. And I think, when I wrote this book, the pandemic hadn't happened. And so at the time I was like, I don't know if people are gonna want this, because I had one person I know who read it and she was like, I don't relate to this at all, so I don't think this is gonna work. And I was like, great.
Were you still friends with this person?
Yeah, it's fine. Books are not for everyone. That's why there's a whole bookstore full of books. No one is gonna like the same, not everyone will like the same book, maybe Robert Munch, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just hope that it'll find people that need it. And I think as the pandemic just kind of went on and on and on, it's like, there are gonna be so many people and kids that need this book. And I think we see it like in our friends, in our kids' friends, at schools, at work, like people were struggling and some are still really struggling. So I think books like this just kind of reflect that back, that it's okay.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Oh.
Hi, I think the role of the father, the parent, he has 2 moments in the book. I think that was an excellent idea.
Yes.
Yeah, especially because he's doing hair.
He's doing hair.
That's nice, 'cause dads are doing that now.
Yeah, in the initial draft, like I think there was no mention of the mom, there's no mention of the mom, but there is a mom, but not everybody has a mom and not every mom is the caregiver or the nurturer. So I think it's good to mix that up. But so we had to write in art notes, please make sure there's a mom. And then as the birthday party, so that she doesn't feel alone, so that she feels like there's support. So we made sure that there were notes for the illustrator, just a couple saying, please make sure that mom is there. Please make sure that dad was written in so that there's a parent. So she's not, because it would be awful to have a kid's book of a little kid struggling without any support. So she's got her cat, and then she's got, both parents. But yeah, special relationship for sure with one who gives her this lovely little bowl.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Is that, so that, you came up with that idea? That wasn't just an accident, or did that come up through, we got this version of the illustration back and then it?
No, I think I think in the initial talk about the manuscript was like, we have to make sure that where are the parents? So the dad was written in, was like, but is there a mom? If there's gonna be a mom, like, where's the mom gonna be? Because it needed to have, she needed to feel grounded to something and not just be trying to figure it out on her own, because that would not be very comforting to small children reading it.
Yeah. Good, I like that observation.
I think I realized that there was like the important stuff, like stuff that made her feel better was like the bow. It was like the color, like everything else was in black and white, but then when there was like important stuff that popped out, it was like in like colors. So I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so that was one of the discussions that, because Penny and I didn't talk to each other, I had written that as a note in the manuscript, but I don't think she necessarily saw it. So she's like, I thought I had that idea. I was like, well, we both had that idea. It's like, oh, that's amazing. But yeah, it starts out really dark, and then there's like a bit of purple. Her backpack has a bit, but then you see like little hints come in, and then the bow happens, and then slowly. So yeah, this is the first really, so you're right, the first really bright pop of color where you see, there's like something's gonna change here, right? And then she's wearing it in her friend's got little blue shoes. So yeah, and then by the end, it's just this triumphant blaze of flowers and butterflies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no further questions for the night, I do just have a few closing remarks. So I just want to say thank you, Jane and Anna, and many thanks to all of you for your questions and your comments. They were fantastic. We will now be moving along to the signing portion of the evening. I'll ask for your patience as we bring Anna to the signing table over at the cash desk. We have copies of tonight's books on the signing table, as well as behind our cash desk, so feel free to pick up a copy. You can get it signed, take your time. We just ask that before you leave the store, please pay for the book. Not my joke, it is John's joke. He is the event facilitator, but he could not be here tonight. Thanks again to Kids Can Press for allowing us to have this lovely evening, and I hope you all have a very good night.
Thank you, Sabrina and John, for hosting it. It's lovely because I grew up shopping at this bookstore, the one on Grant, but yeah, so it's been lovely to be here. And to Jane for coming. Thanks for having me. Come follow me.